In 1939, Alpine, Texas, served as an important support center for ranchers and livestock activities in the region. In this image, a cowboy can be seen inside a saddle shop, possibly evaluating or acquiring essential items for fieldwork. The location features tools, leather, and saddles arranged to meet the needs of those who made a living from cattle and daily farm work. If you're interested in Old West tales and the cattle trails that drove expansion, and you're curious about Dwight D. Eisenhower, as well as the day-to-day life of an old pioneer city in the heart of the United States, visit Abilene, Kansas, a key point in the livestock industry and a stage for remarkable memories. In 1903, a cavalry member was documented at Midway Geyser Basin in Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming. During that period, military forces often carried out surveillance and protection of the area, as there was still no formal ranger structure. This record illustrates the daily life of a soldier. On May 5, 1877, Crazy Horse, a war leader of the Lakota people, and his group surrendered to United States forces at the Red Cloud Agency, located near Fort Robinson. Less than a year had passed since he led indigenous warriors to victory at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Exactly 4 months after his surrender, Crazy Horse was mortally wounded by an American soldier under the allegation that he resisted arrest. In 1868, the Roman Catholic Church exerted significant influence in Zuni, an area located in what is now the state of New Mexico. The presence of missionaries dates back to the Spanish colonial period. That year, church authorities undertook efforts to organize parishes and strengthen catechesis, aiming to integrate the Zuni community into the religious practices proposed by the church. In 1889, in the community of Rockerville, South Dakota, the veterans Spriggs, Lamb, and Dillon were engaged in alluvial mining in search of gold. The region was experiencing a period of intense extractive activity, as many prospectors hoped to find riches in riverbeds and slopes. In the early 1840s, John Coffee Hayes acquired a batch of Colt Patterson revolvers to outfit the Southwest Division, then made up of Texas Rangers. The model, created by Samuel Colt, offered greater firepower compared to earlier percussion weapons, and proved decisive in actions against Comanche groups and Mexican raiding parties. Founded in 1876 during the Black Hills Gold Rush, Deadwood gained fame as a gathering point for adventurers, becoming one of the most notorious towns of the Wild West. In the following decades, its history inspired films and series, boosting its worldwide fame. Today, Deadwood welcomes visitors year-round, drawn by the marks of its past and the Old West atmosphere. In 1909, the H.E. Claimer's Curio Shop was located in Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming. Managed by merchant H.E. Claimers, the store offered souvenirs and items related to the park's landscapes and wildlife. At that time, Yellowstone already stood out as one of the country's first tourist destinations. From the beginning of his adulthood, Samuel Walker devoted himself entirely to military campaigns, moving from one conflict to another without showing interest in other activities. Contemporary records mention his name in several engagements, as he repeatedly enlisted, shifting among different armies and battlefronts. Captain Samuel H. Walker was one of the great names that shaped the history of the Texas Rangers. His service in the Republic of Texas, and later in the Rangers, stood out for the courage he showed in border patrols and skirmishes with hostile groups. His direct involvement in the development of the Colt revolver, in collaboration with Samuel Colt, made him influential in improving the weapons used by the Rangers. In 1886, Sylvester Rawding's family was living in a sod house north of Sargent, in Custer County, Nebraska. This dwelling, built with blocks of grass and soil, exemplifies the type of housing adopted by pioneers on the Great Plains, where wood was scarce. The photograph, taken by Solomon Butcher, shows the family group in front of the building. Records describe Company D of the Texas Rangers gathered in preparation for the simulated scout, after going through a period of intense fatigue. Before hitting the trail again, its members warmed up with freshly brewed coffee and biscuits, seeking to regain their strength for the next stage. The Shiloh Sharps rifle used by Tom Selleck in the film Quigley Down Under, 1990, a western set in 19th century Australia and directed by Simon Windsor, reached the value of $105,750 at Rock Island Auction Company's final 2023 auction. This example is part of the tradition of Sharps rifles, recognized in the North American Old West for their accuracy and presence in various historical conflicts. Around 1915, in a mining region, a worker posed for the photographer alongside his donkey, a vital resource for transporting loads. By embracing the animal, he captured a rare moment of affection that highlights the central role of these work companions in the mining routine and the local economy. In 1872, during an expedition to the Grand Canyon organized by explorer John Wesley Powell, photographer John K. Hillers was depicted on a rocky ledge at the top of the canyon. This scene was captured by James Fenimore, who documented the group's activities. Created by Samuel Colt in 1836, the Patterson revolver became the first repeating Colt revolver to succeed in the market. This single-action cap-and-ball model had a 5-shot cylinder, gaining recognition among the Texas Rangers, who praised it for being able to fire multiple times before needing to reload. In 1980, at the ORO Ranch in the state of Arizona, Bill Morehouse, then holding the position of Jigger Boss, joined Bob Phillips, Jeff Shipp, Jack Bolin, and Jerry Brashears. The ORO Ranch is known for its long history in cattle raising and managing the vast lands of the American West. In 1913, American photographer Joseph Kossuth Dixon documented the figure of Umapine, a prominent Cayuse chief in the state of Oregon. This portrait is part of Dixon's larger effort to document indigenous cultures in the United States in the early 20th century. In his position of leadership, Umapine worked to defend his people's interests during a period of transformations imposed by federal policies. At the end of the 19th century, 5 U.S. Marshals deputies were called into service by federal Judge Isaac Parker in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Tasked with enforcing the law in border regions and facing dangerous criminals, these agents were known for their resolve in their missions. Each of them held a Winchester 1873 rifle, a weapon widely used at the time for its reliability and range. In 1866, atop the slopes of the Sierra Nevada, there was a small cabin built by miners in search of precious metals. Its structure was simple, made of rough logs and stones taken from the nearby slopes, reflecting the haste of those who wanted to establish immediate shelter. Somewhere in the Dakotas around 1890, 5 hunters gathered to pose alongside the dogs that accompanied them and the game they had taken. The photograph suggests the relevance of hunting in the region's daily life, highlighting subsistence practices and tradition. Each member of the group displays their weaponry. Jay Dussard, an American photographer still active today, has had roots in Arizona for over 60 years. His first visit took place in 1960, during a brief stay that inspired him to move there permanently in 1963. Since then, he has portrayed the state and other areas of the West in images that attest to his extensive knowledge and dedication to the subject. After the death of Willie B. Rood, who lived on a ranch along the Colorado River, rumors spread that he had hidden considerable amounts of money on the property. These stories drew treasure hunters who, in their eagerness to find possible riches, searched every part of the place and ended up destroying the main house. The harsh reality of mining in the Old West. Near the beginning of the 20th century, a period marked by rapid industrial expansion, the controversial Dr. Anthony J. Lanza set out to investigate why tuberculosis was spreading among the miners of Butte, Montana, who worked in unhealthy conditions at a rate 10 times higher than the national average. In the context of the Mexican Revolution, which began in 1910, The rebels used various types of weaponry to confront government forces and defend their causes. These weapons ranged from old muzzle-loading muskets still using black powder to single-shot cartridge rifles that were already becoming obsolete. At the end of the 19th century in Custer County, Nebraska, European and North American settlers expanded their activities to lands that had previously been sparsely inhabited by white communities. In this region, conventional building materials were scarce, since wood was not abundant. Under these conditions, the practice of constructing houses using sod blocks, also known as sod bricks, emerged. In 1932, specialized workers were performing the excavation and shaping of George Washington's face on Mount Rushmore, located in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Under the coordination of sculptor Gutzon Borglum, they used pneumatic drills, controlled explosive charges, and support cables to remove blocks of granite and shape the desired contours. The workers moved around on scaffolding and suspended structures, positioning themselves carefully on the steep slopes.